inmate was brutally beaten and killed by multiple correctional officers. Today, 3 out of the 4 officers arrested in connection to the death learned their punishment for their actions.
We have obtained photographs tonight that helped lead to the suspension of 4 Davidson County Sheriff's deputies.
We are hearing from an off-duty deputy who risked his life to save a child stuck on the train tracks.
Tonight, this disturbing video shows a violent incident in Minneapolis where a man is outside his home while doing yard work. Documents say his neighbor pulled the trigger. The shooting sparking a clash between the city council and police. City leaders wrote a letter to the mayor and police chief saying MPD failed to protect this man. This afternoon, Chief O'Hara sounded off against those claims. Joe McCoy joins us now with more. Joe?
Julie, Davis Moturi and his wife moved to their new home in September of 2023. And since then, they have had nonstop issues with their next door neighbor. On Wednesday, that neighbor allegedly tried to kill Davis. It's been 13 months of hell for Davis Moturi and his wife living next door to John Sawchak on the 3500 block of Grand Avenue.
Try it again then, tough guy.
Stay away.
You can't throw a punch, can you?
Court documents say Moturi called police for at least 19 prior incidents, including harassment, hate speech, and verbal threats. On Wednesday, things seemingly coming to a head as Sawchak allegedly shot Moturi while he was trimming a tree.
The bullet went down through my neck and then all the way back to my spine.
Moturi speaking to us tonight from a hospital bed as he recovers from 2 broken ribs, a concussion, and the bullet that sits lodged near his spine.
I don't call the police for fun. I call because of my family to be safe.
Moturi feels the police failed to protect his family by not arresting Sawchak during one of the various other incidents. Police Chief Brian O'Hara saying today that MPD has not arrested Sawchak yet because they don't want to get into a violent confrontation.
We are not going to bust the door down, guns blazing, and get into a deadly force situation. That's not going to happen. But we will ensure the community will be safe around the clock there. Mark my words, as long as it takes to safely take this person into custody.
Councilwoman Andrea Jenkins followed O'Hara down the hall after the press conference, with the two getting in a 5-minute-long confrontation.
We have to take violent criminals off the street. So I'm not a police officer. I don't know how that gets done, but I know it needs to get done.
If you're saying you're scared, what does that do to me, you know? You have this body armor, you have professional training. When I call for assistance, when I called for have a knife pointed at me, I had to wait hours and hours.
Good morning and welcome to the Bad Apple Report. It's 7:30 a.m. bright and early right here at home on the range. Thank you so much for being here today, folks. I really appreciate it. We're going to start our day out in the District of Columbia, where the U.S. Attorney's Office has a statement about this dirty cop. He's a special police officer and he's been arrested on indictment charging unreasonable use of force. Yeah. So the defendant allegedly punched and kicked a detained person without legal justification. Aaron Fluellen, age 36 of Temple Hills, Maryland, was arrested today on a 1-count federal indictment charging him with violating the constitutional rights of a detained citizen on April 12th, 2023. It's been announced in the United States Attorney Matthew M. Graves and FBI Acting Special Agent in Charge David Guests of the Washington Field Office Criminal and Cyber Division's statement. Okay. According to the indictment on April 12th, 2023, while acting under the color of law as a special police officer, he's very special, employed by Capital City Protection Solutions, oh lordy, Fluellen willfully deprived a person of a right or privilege secured and protected by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, specifically the right to be from the use of unreasonable force by a law enforcement officer. Fluellen allegedly assaulted the victim by kicking, punching, and striking the victim without legal justification, resulting in bodily injury. Deprivation of rights under the color of law involving bodily injury carries a statutory maximum of 10 years in prison. The maximum statutory sentence is prescribed by Congress and is provided here for information purposes. The sentencing will be determined by the court based on the advisory sentencing guidelines and other statutory factors. so let's don't get our hopes up. Okay, this case is being investigated by the FBI's Washington field. Blah, blah. It's being prosecuted by this, that, and the other. Okay, and the indictment is merely an allegation. So apparently, Aaron Fluellen is not guilty yet. And we'll keep you abreast of what's going on with that person. Thanks for being here, folks.
We begin with breaking news in Madison County this afternoon. A former Gurley police officer now indicted and facing a manslaughter charge.
This comes more than a year after his patrol car slammed into an innocent bystander's car during a high-speed chase.
Christopher Whalen was formally charged with manslaughter. The indictment states he recklessly caused the death of Matthew Norwood by failing to slow down as the chase veered off I-565 and onto Jordan Lane. This happened in July of last year. Whalen has since resigned from the Gurley Police Department.
When Ricky Gomez saw this beatdown in progress, he documented it and called for help.
Call the 911. I don't even know what to do. At some point I started to record, but at some point when I stopped to record, I was like, this guy's gonna kill this poor guy.
He says Tuesday, around 3:15 p.m. at the Queen and Sherborne Dollarama, he saw another customer with a leaky coffee cup trying to go inside when a security guard grabbed him, ripped his shirt, and wouldn't let him go.
Let me go, let me go. And the guy was trying to pull him out, and then the guy spit on the security guy. And once he did that, the security guy started to become crazy. He started to punch his face.
Gomez says the worst of the violence happened before he thought to record.
He'd take him from the neck with both hands and throw him to the wall and start to punch his face. He punched his face like 6 times. And then when the guy fell down to the floor, he started to kick his face, literally kicking his head like another 6 times. The guy was vulnerable since the first moment when he started to punch his face. The poor guy couldn't do anything.
In a statement, Dollarama wrote it does not authorize the use of force in any situation. Upon learning of this incident, Dollarama put the third-party security firm on notice while we investigate why protocol was not followed.
They cannot use excessive force. The test is, was it reasonable under the circumstances?
Personal injury lawyer Jasmine Dea says even if the customer spat on the guard, even potentially Dollarama, could be liable for the customer's injuries.
I believe it's excessive to become physically aggressive if someone spits on you. Yes, it's not nice, and maybe that's a knee-jerk reaction, but this is not just 2 friends, 2 buddies. This is someone in the course of their employment, and they must follow the rules and responsibilities that come with that. And a security guard punching someone because they were spit on, if that is in fact the case, I view that as excessive force.
Gomez says he's speaking out about the violent incident to prevent future ones.
I told him, like, you have to report this because that could happen to everyone, to me, to anyone.
Toronto police confirmed the guard has now been charged with assault.
I'm not guilty of murder. I'm not guilty of murder, and I'm in there more in this whole case.
I'm not guilty of murder, said ex-corrections officer Kirk Walton, as he tried to convince a judge to not sentence him to 20 years in prison.
I wanted to do a trial, and at a number of times I told him I wanted to do a trial.
Walton, Christopher Rowland, and Jeremy Godbolt pled guilty earlier this year to beating inmate Ronald Ingram to death. The deal they accepted was 20 years in prison in exchange for their testimony in the trial of the 4th officer, Ronald Connor.
What's the motion for? You want to file a motion to withdraw your plea now?
Yes.
But now Rowland and Walton regret taking that deal because despite testifying in Connor's trial, jurors found their colleague not guilty of murder.
You had every opportunity in the world. Now, perhaps one of your co-defendants who went to trial was found guilty of something lesser, maybe you're reconsidering. That is not my job.
Judge denied the request to take back their pleas and sentence all 3 to 20 years in prison like they signed up for. And the judge also told those ex-officers the inmate died in the worst way possible. She said if it weren't for those plea deals and had the jury convicted that 4th officer, she would have given them all life sentences.
Why are they so dumb at the detention centers? Dang. Durham County detention officer charged with sneaking cell phones and drugs to inmates. Come on, girl. Okay. A detention officer and a vendor working with Durham County Sheriff's Office are both facing charges for allegedly sneaking cell phones and drugs to inmates at the jail. Nicole Locke was arrested early on Friday. According to the Sheriff's Office, she was a sergeant who worked at the jail. Good grief. Locke is charged with felony and misdemeanor conspiracy and felony providing a phone or electronics to inmates. She was released on bond and is no longer working at the jail. Knucklehead. Okay, the contract vendor Brianna Ashley Bowie is charged with felony conspiracy to sell a controlled substance. Wellity, well. Not so good. On with the show.
Sandy police here in Durham region east of Toronto are accused of giving one of their own special treatment. A deputy chief who was pulled over for speeding, not once, but twice. According to the Toronto Star, in one of the incidents, Durham Regional Police Deputy Chief Chris Kirkpatrick was pulled over after speeding in a school zone. The very next day, he was stopped for going 50 kilometers over the speed limit, which in Ontario would normally lead to a charge of stunt driving and a suspended license. But both times, he was allegedly let off. In an email to CTV News, Durham Region Police say we are aware of allegations that were made against Deputy Kirkpatrick. Upon becoming aware of the allegations, Chief Moreira referred the matter to the Police Service Board. CTV News has learned that the board requested that a separate police department in Peel, west of Toronto, conduct an independent investigation. Peel Regional Police tell us they did conduct an investigation for the Durham Police Service Board in relation to Deputy Chief Kirkpatrick. The investigation was completed and the report has been provided to them. Our questions were referred to the chair of the board, Sean Collier, who's also the mayor of Ajax, Ontario. Collier has yet to respond to our email or our request to make the report public.
According to the Sheriff's Department, it's further proof about how the public can be misled about who is and isn't police, especially for our new residents of Middle Tennessee. It can be confusing because Davidson County Sheriff's Office employees are considered law enforcement, but they are not police. They are not certified by the state to arrest anyone. So keep that in mind when you see these photographs. Okay, first glance, what do you think? Are these police officers? There's a badge. There's a patch that reads police. There's a vest that reads police. Spoiler, according to the Sheriff's Department, they are not. The two men in these photos work in the security division for the Davidson County Sheriff's Department and have now been suspended by the Sheriff's Office for 40 hours. In fact, the Sheriff's Office own policy reads, employees cannot mislead the public by wearing uniforms implying law enforcement authority while off duty. So why are they wearing it? Because they were working off duty and both say they work for the security company Solaren. They're the security company at the center of our thin blurred line investigations that revealed current and former employees accused of looking like, and in some cases acting like police, even though they're not state certified law enforcement. Now, 4 Sheriff's Department employees have been suspended, found by the department investigator to have worn police identification while working for Solaren. Even the CEO of Solaren, Jack Bird, can be found in photographs wearing police identification, and he's not state-certified law enforcement. The Sheriff's Department investigation is prompted by the 62 civil violations filed against Solaren by the state agency that oversees police certification. Bird is fighting those violations in court. His attorney's writing this, that the state is improperly interpreting the code when it comes to Davidson County Sheriff's deputies, several who are employed by Solaren as doing off-duty security. Solaren argues those deputies can wear law enforcement identification while working security, as they do have special law enforcement powers. The Sheriff's Office says their only comment tonight is the investigation itself, which found the 4 employees abused their position.
So, Jeremy, why would a security company even push the envelope if the state law states only certified law enforcement can wear police identification?
Well, Marius, we wanted to ask that question to Jack Bird, but he did not respond to our request for comment by our deadline. But former Solaren employees tell me it's all about making more money, as security companies can charge more if they employ off-duty police.
Montana's Attorney General is facing legal and political scrutiny ahead of the election. And tonight, new developments as a judicial panel now recommends suspending Austin Knudsen from practicing law.
The controversy stems
stems from public criticism over Austin Knutsen's letters to the courts during a constitutional conflict over a bill that would eliminate a commission reviewing judicial candidates and give the power to appoint judges to the state's governor. With 41 ethics complaints filed against Knutsen, the outcome could potentially lead to disbarment. When Knutsen took the stand earlier this month, he defended his actions, saying it was a necessity to represent his client.
This letter was disrespectful to the Montana Supreme Court, wasn't it?
No.
This letter was intemperate, wasn't it?
No.
It was contemptuous, wasn't it?
Not in my opinion, no.
Immediately after the recommendation was released, Department of Justice's spokeswoman sent NBC Montana a statement saying the office disagreed with the recommended punishment and believed the matter could have been handled privately to avoid a politically charged disagreement. Now, both sides have 30 days to object to this recommendation and another 30 to respond to those objections. After that, the Montana Supreme Court will hand down its decision. On Thursday, 3 justices of the Supreme Court filed motions recusing them of making that ruling, meaning they will most likely be replaced with state district court judges.
It was a split-second decision to run in front of a moving train.
I knew there was something going on and something needed to be done fast.
A choice made by San Bernardino County Sheriff's Deputy Michael Castaneda on this rural road in Redlands. The reason? What you see him pick up in this cell phone video is a child.
As soon as she put that child down, I heard the horn, and to me that was like a start of a race, and that's when I just started running to get that kid out of there.
This is the railroad crossing at Live Oak Canyon and San Timoteo. You can see it's just 2 lanes. At the other side of the crossing, a stop sign. And on this September day, Castaneda says he was behind the car on the tracks when the gate started closing.
It started a process really quick in my head, what was going on. Especially when I seen that car try to maneuver out of the way and end up getting stuck in the gravel.
The driver now stuck, but instead of running away from the moving train, he says she went back into the car.
At that moment, it dawned on me really quick that there's probably a kid back there or another passenger in the vehicle, and that train is getting really close.
The mother put the child down on the ground and climbed back into the car for a second child.
Time slowed down, but it was seconds.
That's when the video starts. Castaneda picking up the child on the ground and running. Then watch the mother run in the opposite direction, cradling the second child.
I think it was just the perfect time for me to be somewhere.
Castaneda was off duty at the time, heading home from work. But as a former Marine and current deputy, he says he didn't question what to do.
What I do for my job, what I've done in the past, is just to help people.
We toss the word hero around. Do you think you're a hero?
No. It's just everything. It's just a thing I do on a daily basis.
And as thankful as everyone is that this story ended the way that it did, it also must be a reminder that you should never attempt to cross a train track unless you know you can safely make it to the other side.
When there's no room on the other side of the tracks, don't start proceeding over the tracks.
For when seconds count and choices are made, it's easy to see how this could have ended differently had there not been a humble hero willing to risk his life waiting in line behind the gate.
Thank you so much, folks. That's a wrap. And hey, if any of my commenters, if that's you and the cops are banging at your door, as soon as they come in, you just tell them, "Welcome to the Bad Apple Report." That's right. Your camera's rolling, folks. See you tomorrow at 7:30 a.m.